so.
You know, he gets the federal matching money for the money he's already raised. He has to have it certified, then he gets the matching funds for that. And then he's able to get some money for administrative costs, I think, too, as well. So I think he can get out from maybe the worst of the money problem. And the sitting senators always find a way to raise money anyway.
Seems so, Jack. Why do you suppose he didn't catch on? He has all of the imprimaturs, a Vietnam veteran, the Medal of Honor winner, and a man from the Heartland.
It's a mystery because all of us who supposedly know what we're talking about expected him to catch on, and a lot of people in the party, in the Democratic Party, thought so. But it's a mystery. Some people, some candidates just don't make connections.
Yeah, you have said that he was a little unfocused with the exception of his health plan early on. We're going to talk about that later. Let's hear the senator, though.
Yeah.
This is the Hart Senate office building, hard by the Capitol building itself.
Well, first of all, you talking to me now, or? Well, first of all, I must confess I feel a little badly about the race coming to an end, but I don't feel nearly as badly as I do for Dave Kochak out there with the Omaha World Herald. He's got to go back to Omaha and cover a county commissioner's race now. But at least he gets to go back home. Now, after New Hampshire, I was delighted, or at least I appeared delighted, to say that I had won a bronze. Then went on to South Dakota and was happy to be able to say that I won a gold. But after Tuesday, I feel a little like the Jamaican bobsled team. We had a lot of spirit, but unfortunately, we didn't get a lot of medals. About the only good news for me came on Tuesday in the state of Colorado. I'd like to have done better in Colorado, but when you're a Cornhusker from Nebraska, anytime you get 12 points on the road in the state of Colorado, you've done pretty well. At the end of the campaign, we were ready to go full throttle, but unfortunately we ran out of gas. While we have plenty of potential and plenty of enthusiasm, unfortunately we do not have plenty of money. So it is with regret, but with great pride for all that we have done together, that I am here this morning to end my candidacy for President of the United States of America. But make no mistake, this is no retreat, in Bruce Springsteen's words. This is no retreat and this is no surrender. For me, the fight simply is going to move on to new arenas. I thought last night for a moment that I might go on the race simply by changing my name to Bob Uncommitted. But I thought better of it. I want to first of all congratulate all the other candidates, the 4 remaining Democratic candidates who did win, and I want to wish them well. I know there's a long road ahead. There's a lot of work for all of them. I have exercised political hyperbole on a number of occasions and called them unelectable. But with each passing day, it is clear to me that the only unelectable politician running for President of the United States is George Bush. As to my own campaign, while my candidacy for President of the United States is over, the cause of the campaign, the urgent need for fundamental change, is not over. I will continue the struggle to describe the course I believe America should set in the uncharted waters of the post-Cold War era. And I will continue to fight to make the changes needed to move in this new direction. Paraphrasing the late Lou Gehrig, you may have heard I got some bad breaks, most of them self-inflicted, but today I consider myself the luckiest man on the face of the earth. I'm lucky for having a state like Nebraska that would give me its faith and encouragement. I'm lucky for the opportunity I've had these past 5 months to lay out my views before the wisdom of the American people. And I'm lucky for the thousands who supported me with their confidence, idealism, money, time, and effort. I especially... I want to especially as well thank my colleagues who stood in with me through thick and unfortunately mostly thin, stayed with me from beginning to end. I'm very grateful for their support, their friendship. I wish I could say that I'm enthusiastically looking forward to getting back to Strom Thurmond's filibuster, but I will do the best I can. I'm also very grateful and indeed very moved by the support and friendship, and the love, in fact, given to me by my fellow comrades in arms from the Vietnam era. I hope that as much as the war was slightly open during this campaign, that America understands that Vietnam is no longer the issue. The issue instead is the eagerness and sense of purpose with which Vietnam veterans return to political life. I take as a sign of hope that my campaign has awakened in thousands of Vietnam veterans the realization that their government is no longer an enemy, that government can be an instrument of power which can, after all, be used wisely if only one gets involved in defining the mission. The point must be made this morning that too many Americans feel like their government cannot be used wisely for anything. 2 Americans in 3 are afraid they may lose their jobs in the coming years. Perhaps the strongest message of this campaign is that job security in Washington, D.C. must be reduced if we ever hope to reverse the uncertainty everywhere else in this country. Americans are full of doubt about the future, anger about the present, and longing for the past. The buzzword for the 1990s, downsizing, has ripped through American confidence like a chainsaw. For 45 years, 2 generations, this nation knew where we were going. We were containing Soviet communism abroad while we were building increased prosperity here at home. Suddenly, Soviet communism has vanished, and prosperity, long assumed to be ever-growing and ever-satisfying, is now seen to be neither. America's leaders need to wake up. As leaders, we need to awaken to the new world and the new possibilities in it. In the old era, we contained a clear enemy. Now we must contain the more elusive enemies of hatred, violence, bitterness, selfishness, intolerance, and ignorance. And we must control as well and fight as well the desire to punish, discourage, subdue, or to terrorize the human spirit. At this moment between the world of the known past and the unknown future, we are called upon as Americans, and we have a duty to answer this question. What is going on in our country anyway? Here's how I see it. We need a massive economic conversion from an economy that produces weapons the world fears to an economy that produces goods and services that the world wants to purchase. We need to begin with fundamental change in the way we finance health care. Soon, within 2 years, in fact, we will be spending $1 trillion a year in America for health care, financing a system that does not provide continuous health care for our children and continues to place a penalty on job mobility and retraining. We need fundamental change in the way we treat our children. America is no longer the land built on dreams and values of our parents. In city streets, teenagers do no longer play stickball or kick the can on hot summer nights. Instead, they prowl in warlike gangs with cheap handguns and semi-automatic weapons. Our $350 billion annual investment in the ordeal known as primary and secondary education resembles an assembly line in reverse. The finished product is not inquisitive, excited children, but instead is disassembled parts, dull, lost, and frightened teenagers. We need to shake our federal government to its core. Not timid change, not change at the margins, but radical change to restore a sense of purpose and mission to our experiment in self-government. We need fundamental change in America, fundamental change in our foreign policy to build a new world economy and move one step closer to the elusive goal of world peace. Fundamental change in our domestic policy to restore America's health. Fundamental change in our values to give hope to our children. They were the reason for my running for president, and they will always be my compass to guide me in the fight ahead. This is the end of a single presidential campaign, unfortunately, my own. But it is not a surrender or a retreat. As I look back on my campaign, difficult though that might be to do, I feel neither regret nor disappointment. I am proud of the effort and more committed than ever to carrying on the fight. The President of Czechoslovakia, Václav Havel, recently observed that the end of Soviet communism was as much a victory of the human spirit over the tyranny of government as it was a military victory. Just as they were inspired by our example, we should be inspired by theirs. Our government also stands between us and a new world of freedom, exploration, and progress. It is time for Americans to rise up with the full spirit of our indomitable nature to seize this moment and build the nation and world of our dreams. Thank you all very much.
Some local cable operators will be cutting away for a commercial message at this time. CNN's live coverage of Bob Kerrey's news conference will continue.
Well, I hate to interrupt applause to take questions from the press, but I feel that I must. Yes.
With the liability out there,
No, by no means is the liability to be connected to the establishment. I understand that there's a great deal of resentment today and anger towards Washington, D.C., but there's anger at almost all levels of government today.
For those viewers rejoining us following a local commercial break, CNN is bringing you live coverage of a Bob Kerrey news conference.
not with defensive gestures, not with any sort of lack of commitment, but with renewed commitment to change the course we're on. There is, as I said in my statement, there is growing uncertainty in America about where we're going. And it's almost as important, indeed, I would say it's more important, to try to describe to Americans where we're going before we describe what it is that we're going to do to get there. It is true, I think, that Americans view us in Washington as getting sometimes vocal before we get vocational. But I don't see this as a protest vote against Congress.
I wonder if you could try to, as how you vote, continue to fight in what these new arenas might be.
Well, I'm still a member of the United States Senate, and though we have to wait... Though we have to wait sometimes longer than we would like for Strom to finish talking, to speak, I intend to wait long enough to allow my voice to be heard. Something. But I don't know why. Yeah. No. It did take off. It's taking off throughout the country. I mean, the problem...
About the need for Vietnam veterans to get more involved in politics, and one of the nation's most prominent non-Vietnam veterans right now is Governor Clinton. Could you be enthusiastic about his candidacy for president?
Very. I could be very enthusiastic about his candidacy. If he's the nominee of the party, I will campaign feverishly to make certain that he wins the election in November.
In your own post-mortem, though, on the election, on the campaign.
Post-mortem? Are you? Are you a journalist or a mortician? Go ahead. I'm glad.
Why did you not stay full?
Well, it's clear to me that I hit stride, but it's probably true that I hit stride a couple weeks too late in the state of New Hampshire. I mean, the way that American politics are set, unless you do well in New Hampshire, you do not have the visibility required to get people to know who you are. There's only two ways to get people to know who you are, and one is with paid and one is with unpaid media, and I had precious little money to buy it, and I had very little opportunity to acquire it free. Well, Jerry Brown is in a much different status than I am. I'm in the United States Senate. I have an obligation to the people of Nebraska to serve them. This is, I have an obligation to measure when it is that I need to return full-time to the job that, to which I have been elected. And I have made the decision that I need to return full-time. Were it not for that, it'd be possible for me to go out similar to Jerry Brown. I won a primary. I finished third in another. There's enthusiasm out there for the campaign, and it is growing enthusiasm. Not growing as much as I would like, but it is growing nonetheless.
So Senator Bob Kerrey has done what was expected of him yesterday when he broke off campaigning. He has announced on Capitol Hill that he no longer is in the Democratic presidential primary or caucus race, throwing his support to no one else, but saying that anyone would be electable. Anyone, he said, that is, except the current President George Bush, the member of the other party. With us, Jack Germond and Bill Schneider, our analysts who have been watching this with fascination from Washington here, where Bill is, and from Miami, where Jack Germond is. Bill, while we have you here, let us ask you the question we asked Jack. Did you think you'd see this scene this fast and this early in the campaign?
Oh, I actually thought I'd see it faster and earlier in the campaign. The campaigns, primary campaigns are a killing ground. It's supposed to be where you get rid of non-viable candidates very quickly and clear the field. This primary campaign has actually been fairly slow, but as Bob Kerrey said, New Hampshire is a very brutal contest. He didn't do well in New Hampshire. Paul Tsongas beat him to that audience and that message, and it's taken him a couple of weeks to understand that he's just not getting anywhere.
Jack Germond, the issue of health is supposed to be sort of a touchstone and lodestone in American politics, and the senator had a fairly extensive program for that. Why didn't that do better by him?
Well, I think he put too many eggs in that one basket, Reed. The health care issue is very is very volatile. A lot of people are interested in it. It's a major concern. It is not as important as the basic sort of jobs, economic issue. The other thing is that none of the candidates were against health care. Everybody's for health care. And what happened to Kerrey was that his primacy on the issue, or what he thought was his primacy on the issue, got lost in the mix, sort of, and they thought that all the candidates essentially had the same kind of proposals on health care. It wasn't true, but that was what the voters thought.
All right,
I think perhaps Paul Tsongas would get some benefit out of it, and perhaps Jerry Brown some benefit out of it.
Yeah.
You can make a case for all of it, but Bill probably knows some figures better than I do.
Well, what you see in the figures is that there were two contests going on, one for the blue-collar vote, one for the white-collar vote. Tsongas won the white-collar vote, but Brown got a corner of it, which he's holding on to. I think Kerry's absence from the campaign will help Paul Tsongas consolidate that vote. On the other side, you had Clinton and Harkin competing for the blue-collar vote, and Clinton has clearly won that, but Harkin is staying in to see if he can make it to Illinois and Michigan.
Well, man, have we seen the last of Senator Kerrey? He's young, and he got a late start, as he said. Might we see him an early starter in '96, do you suppose?
Go ahead, Jack. I was going to say, you might see him again in 1992. He would still make an ideal vice presidential candidate to match up against Dan Quayle. If you have a nominee of the party from outside of Washington, you want somebody from the Senate who has a Medal of Honor and impeccable credentials on national defense.
And look at this. I mean, wouldn't Democrats just love to see a debate between Dan Quayle and Bob Kerrey? Here's Bob Kerrey, who was on both sides of the issue that divided the baby boom generation. He fought in the Vietnam War honorably with a medal, was disabled, and he opposed the Vietnam War, as opposed to Dan Quayle, who didn't fight in the Vietnam War and didn't oppose the Vietnam War. That would be a debate that a lot of Democrats would welcome.
And so the presidential primaries have taken another early casualty with the absence now of Senator Bob Kerrey of Nebraska. Gentlemen, thank you very much. And we have witnessed from Capitol Hill the exit of the senator from Nebraska, whose visage we suspect we'll be seeing more of, and perhaps shortly.